So today, Sony had their most recent state of play, in which they announced a handful of games, most of which were underwhelming and not at all interesting. But they did save the best for last, as usual, and we got a teaser trailer for Ghost of Yotei, which acts as a sequel to 2020's Ghost of Tsushima. And this is set for release sometime next year in 2025, exclusively for the PS5, at least until it eventually comes to PC later at some point. Now, similar to the first game, Ghost of Yotei will focus its premise, its concept, on giving the player a feudal Japan setting to explore. Yotei is a completely new region compared to the island of Tsushima from the first game, but as we can see in some snippets of gameplay right here, the game's going to follow a very similar theme to the first game, by comparison. Now, the interesting thing about Ghost of Yotei is that the game has a new protagonist, which is a female character. So the game will not include Jin Sakai at all as the main lead. In fact, Ghost of Yotei is actually set some 300 years after the original game. The story of Ghost of Yotei takes place in the early 1600s, some 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, and the land surrounding Mount Yotei, which is known as Hokkaido, Japan today. And the name of this new protagonist is Atsu. Thus far, we have no further information on this new character other than her name. The response to this has been very mixed, as I'm showing here in the comments on IGN. There's a horde of individuals who do not want to play as a female character. Personally, I think this is a good thing. It offers a change of pace from the first game. It offers something different, something new than what the first game did. And it offers a new direction compared to what the first game had to offer. I've noticed that this Atsu character uses two swords instead of one. So there's going to be some dual-wielding gameplay. And then the whole thing with this wolf right here leads me to believe that perhaps you'll be able to take control of some animals in the game. Or at least have some kind of, wolf-like companion that you can use in battle. I don't think that's much of a stretch to believe, given what's been shown here in this announcement trailer. So the two main questions a lot of people have, from what I've seen online for this game, is why did this game abandon Jin Sakai in favor of a new protagonist, and why a female character? Well, I kind of already answered the first part. A female lead offers something different, something new, something fresh. Such a character offers a completely different gameplay style compared to Jin Sakai's abilities in the first game. But the main reason why Sucker Punch has moved on from Jin Sakai is pretty obvious. They're not using Jin Sakai again because Jin Sakai's story was already wrapped up in Ghost of Tsushima. There was nothing else that they could have done with that character. If you play Ghost of Tsushima from start to finish, Jin Sakai's story was basically concluded by the end of that game. There was nothing else that they could have done with him. So it only made sense to go with the new protagonist. And this is why I was saying privately that personally, if they weren't going to do a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, I would have preferred Sucker Punch to work on a new IP. But perhaps working on a new IP was a bit too soon. So I was really wondering exactly what they were going to do for a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. And to me, it only made sense to go with the new protagonist, which is exactly what they did. And the fact that it's a female character makes the game a lot more interesting. And this is after the period of the samurai, from what I read in this article. Yeah, Sucker Punch calls it a far cry from the organized samurai clans who lived in Tsushima. And it's a setting for an original story. So this character appears to be a ronin, rather than a samurai based off of what she's wearing. So we're getting new protagonist, new location, and a new story. And that actually highlights an answer to an even greater question. Exactly what is the Ghost series from Sucker Punch? They've pretty much answered what that question is in this one trailer. The Ghost series is an anthology series. An anthology series, of course, refers to each entry of a particular work of fiction introducing a new set of characters, new setting, and a new story to tell with each subsequent entry. And this is far from the first anthology video game franchise. There's plenty of other franchises in the gaming business that could also be considered as anthology franchises. You know, we have Far Cry from Ubisoft, that could be considered as an anthology series. There's Watch Dogs from Ubisoft. There's what's easily this particular franchise's biggest inspiration with the Assassin's Creed franchise. You know, each Assassin's Creed game offers a new setting, a new set of characters, a new story that hasn't been told before. Anthology franchises aren't anything that's new in the gaming business. But that appears to be what Sucker Punch has constructed this particular IP to be. It's an anthology series, which I actually think is for the best. If they had gone with Jin Sakai again, this would not have worked. In fact, I would go as far to say that it would have been a waste. Now, my last point regarding Ghost of Tsushima in general. Critics rated the game fairly. They got an 83 out of 100 on Metacritic. But if you look at the user score, normal consumers rated the game very highly. It actually has a universal acclaim rating on Metacritic. And the reason that's important to highlight is because the game really wasn't that great. This game was not a 9 out of 10 game. It borrowed a lot of elements from Assassin's Creed. It borrowed some elements from Batman Arkham. And overall, the package was good, but it was lacking in some areas. But the main reason why the user score is so high with this game, and why consumers overrated the hell out of it, is because this game was basically seen as some kind of alternative option for Sony's first-party lineup that they had back in 2020. Because back in 2020, there was another major first-party exclusive from Sony that came out that year that basically split its fan base right down the middle, and that game, of course, was The Last of Us Part 2, that has thousands upon thousands more user reviews compared to Ghost of Tsushima, and a much lower user score, but a much higher critic score. Essentially, the salty consumers that did not like The Last of Us Part 2 review bombed the game on Metacritic and overrated the hell out of Ghost of Tsushima as basically a middle finger to this game. So I believe The Last of Us Part 2 contributed quite a bit to the success of Ghost of Tsushima. I doubt there will be a similar case for Ghost of Yotei. Anyone who didn't really care for Ghost of Tsushima is probably not going to like this game. I don't see this game really being anything too radically different from what the first game offered. It's basically going to be the same game again, just with, some added elements that weren't in the original. It's basically going to be a safe, proper sequel. For me personally, I'm looking forward to this game, but I'm not excited for it, for the reason that I just stated. I don't think it's going to offer anything too radically different from what was already in the original game. But considering that I have completed the achievement list for Ghost of Tsushima both on console and on PC earlier this year, when the game came out on PC, I consider myself to be enough of a fan to support the next entry in this particular series. So I am looking forward to hearing more information about this game the next time that Sucker Punch has something to show for it. And this is coming out in 2025. I'd imagine it's going to be a late 2025 release, probably quarter 3 or quarter 4 next year.